Usually, women, due to their calm and forgiving nature, are seen as innocent until guilty. But this is not true in every case. In this video, we will see 6 reactions of female convicts after giving a life sentence. Number 1. Elizabeth Escalona. In this clip, we can see a woman named Elizabeth Escalona, who was sentenced to 99 years in prison for putting her 2-year-old daughter into a coma and gluing her hands to the wall because of problems with her potty training. A Dallas judge gave Elizabeth her sentence. Escalona was 23 at the time of the crime. She had pleaded guilty earlier to a felony count of injuring a child. She admitted to physically hurting daughter Jocelyn Cedillo earlier, saying only a monster does that. Still, she rejected a plea bargain that called for a 45-year sentence and instead pleaded with the judge for a second sentence. According to the police, she kicked Jocelyn in the stomach, beat her with a milk jug, and then superglued her hands to an apartment wall. A doctor also testified that Jocelyn suffered bleeding in her brain, which put her in a coma for several days. Her daughter also had a broken rib, bite marks, multiple bruises, and skin torn from her hands from being glued to the wall. State District Judge Larry Mitchell said he believed Escalona was a child victim of domestic and physical hurting. Still, he can consider that evidence outside of the context of this trial. So it comes down to a single salient fact on September 7, 2011, when she beat her child to the edge of passing out, and for this, she must be punished, he said. Hearing this, Escalona had no visible reaction to the verdict, but her family members wailed and wept with their heads in their laps as TV cameras surrounded them. Number 2. Amber Wright. In this next clip, we can see a woman named Amber Wright. She was involved in a high-profile criminal case in 2011 in Florida, United States. She was just 15 years old at the time of the crime. Amber was convicted for the murder of a 15-year-old boy who was lured to a house by her and several others. He was brutally beaten and shot multiple times before his body was burned and disposed of in a backyard fire pit. For committing this crime, Wright was charged with first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But since she was a minor, her sentence was reduced to 25 years after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling deemed mandatory life sentences for juveniles unconstitutional. Due to the horrific nature of the crime and the involvement of a young woman in such a horrible act, Wright's case attracted widespread attention. The incident brought to light the dangers of young relationships and the powers that peers may hold, especially in cases of violent crime. You can see various clips and reports of the reaction Amber had while she was in the courtroom. During her trial, Wright can be seen mostly being emotional and tearful at times, particularly when evidence was presented that implicated her in the murder of Seth Jackson. She was also seen shaking her head and mouthing the word no when witnesses testified against her. She reportedly broke down entirely into tears as the judge sentenced her to life without parole. During her breakdown, she had to be physically restrained by deputies. Some reports suggest that she was in shock and disbelief at the severity of her sentence. However, as earlier mentioned, her sentence was later reduced to 25 years, and how she reacted to this news is unclear. Given that she was still a teenager at the time of the crime and had no prior criminal record, it is possible that she felt some sense of hope or relief for the future when her sentence was reduced. Number 3. Amber Rocco. In this next clip, we can see Amber Rocco with a knife in her hand, shouting racial slurs at a black couple while she was stuck on camera. The incident took place on Christmas Eve at a McMinnville car parking zone. Rocco is known to have been frustrated by using the crooked parking carried out by the way of immoral Robertson's aunt. The video of this incident was uploaded to Facebook by Robertson, which gained huge comments in no time. I feared for my safety and my daughter's protection because I did not recognize what she had planned to do, and she didn't look pretty accessible, the victim said. She also confirms that Rocco slapped her boyfriend and spat on him while he advised her about wielding a knife. She just commenced acting crazy. She spat on him and slapped him, she added. Rocco was then quickly arrested by the police and booked her in Yamhill County Jail till she met her $55,000 bail terms. "I do 100% from the bottom of my heart remorse pronouncing that phrase," Rocco said. Rocco was charged with criminal counts of first diploma intimidation, felony counts of illegal use of a weapon, misdemeanor counts of menacing, and misdemeanor counts of harassment. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 30 days in prison plus 3 years of probation. Can you believe her? Number 4, Jennifer Mee. This clip shows a woman named Jennifer Mee, a 19-year-old from Pinellas County. In the court, during her trial, Jennifer Mee is visible in this clip of the courtroom. She is suspected of first-degree murder and was convicted of the same. She was charged with planning a robbery with targets she met online. She is also accused of recruiting Lamont Newton, who was at the time the couple's boyfriend, and another acquaintance, Lauren Roffer, to help rob the victims. Mee got together with a 22-year-old man she had met online, and the two of them took him to an empty house where they shot and robbed the victim. Mee and her partners got $50 for the robbery and murder. All of this for $50? Definitely not worth the risk. Since they were all living together, they were arrested within hours of the crime. Mee acknowledged her involvement during a phone contact with her mother while she was in jail, and the conversation was eventually taped. Mee was found guilty of first-degree murder after the jury rendered a guilty judgment. She received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Number 5, Kayla Norton. This next clip shows a woman named Kayla Norton being sentenced to 19 years in prison by a Georgia judge. Kayla, 25, along with Jose Joe Torres, 26, was convicted for their role in a group's racist rampage at an 8-year-old's birthday party. She attacked by shouting racial slurs, making armed threats, and waving Confederate battle flags. "I am so sorry that happened to you," Norton told the family that endured the attack. She was seen weeping in the courtroom at her sentencing, along with constantly apologizing for the crime. She told the court that she would take responsibility for all of her actions. Norton turned to the section of the courtroom where families who came for the birthday party were seated and told them, "I want you all to know that that is not me." Torres and Norton, who are not married, have 3 kids together. Prosecutors claimed they were part of a gang of white supremacists who targeted African Americans with racist taunts and threatened to hurt minorities. In court, both Norton and Torres sat hunched over and crying after Superior Court Judge William Bull McLean handed down his sentence of 14 years in prison and 7 years probation for Torres and 6 years in prison with 8 years probation for Norton. McLean further stated that both of them were banished from Douglas County. Number 6, Tracy Lynn Garner. Next on our list is Tracy Lynn Garner, who is from Mississippi. She was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment in 2014 for performing illegal plastic surgery. Karima Gordon, the victim and a patient of hers, visited her clinic in an effort to enhance the size and form of her buttocks. In a hotel room in Jackson, Mississippi, Garner administered Gordon an injection of a silicone substance while acting as a non-licensed medical practitioner. However, it was eventually discovered that the substance was a deadly mixture of industrial-grade silicone and other unidentified substances. Gordon fell incredibly ill during the treatment and was sent to the hospital, but she eventually passed away from additional health issues. This resulted in Garner getting arrested and charged with depraved heart murder, a form of second-degree murder involving extreme recklessness and disregard for human life. The prosecution claimed during Garner's trial that she had lied about both the legitimacy of her credentials and the safety of the drug she used on Gordon. They also claimed that Garner had a history of performing risky and unlawful cosmetic treatments on women. Her lawyers established Garner's good faith and belief that the substance was safe in order to defend her. The jury ultimately found Garner guilty of murder and gave her a life sentence. The incident made people aware of risk associated with unlicensed cosmetic treatments and the requirement for tighter industry standards and enforcement. After she was arrested, Garner showed no visible emotion in the courtroom. She remained calm and composed as the judge read out her sentence. However, Garner did speak out in her defense during her trial, denying that she had caused Gordon's death. She claimed that Gordon had approached her for assistance with silicone injections and that she had directed Gordon to whoever was in charge of the fatal treatment. The controversy over the risk of illicit cosmetic treatments was ignited by Garner's case, which attracted a lot of media attention. The sentence leniency was criticized by some who claimed it failed to capture the gravity of Garner's actions appropriately. With that, we have come to the end of this video. If you like this video, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. For more videos like this, click on the links you see on the screen. We will come back again with more interesting content. Until then, goodbye!